Hello everyone and welcome to the games I love, but a slightly different video this time because on the last video I did a look at Ultimate Warriorz, which was a arena-based simultaneous selection card game where you take on the role of different monsters and characters and duke it out in an arena to find out who's going to come out on top. And today I am going to be ranking all 8 characters that come with the game. Obviously, this is going to be personal preference and opinion, so obviously take it with a pinch of salt. But I'm basing it judged on like how fun the character is to play, their special abilities, whether they're useful or not, and generally, yeah, just generally whether I've had a good time playing them. Now, I will say that I do enjoy playing all of these characters, but I will be ranking them from least favourite to favourite. So let's get the old ranking on the right side of the screen there, and well, let's start off with the very bottom. Who's going to start off the list? Well, it is going to be this dude right here, Burdock, the Highlander Lion. Well, if I was giving points based on how cool the character looks, I would say this is going to be up there. But unfortunately, Burdock is one of my least favourite characters to play in the game. He comes with these 2 tokens here, which is to do with one of his special ability cards. So if I show you his cards, he starts off with 9 health and generally has between 3 and 5 defense, I believe. Yes, between 3 and 5 defense, and he has a weight of 9, so he's fairly middle of the road. He's slightly heavier than some of the other midweight characters there, but between 3 and 5 defense, you know, that's not too bad, I suppose. Mostly they are 3s and 4s though, so you know, you have to take that with a pinch of salt. So his special abilities though are what really severely let him down, because they're just extremely situational. For example, this one here, the Electric Claymore. Before resolving a shooting attack, you roll a die and you set the attack power, which can vary between 1 and 6. This is one of the most luck-based abilities in the game. It is all down to a die roll as to how powerful your attack is going to be. So if you're unlucky enough to roll a 1, well, that's just tough. You've only got 1 die to work with. And not only that, but you don't move. You don't move during this turn as well. So you have to be in the exact same, well, in an adjacent space with someone in order to use this card. So it's a very situational card to use. And his other one isn't much better either, the powerful Electroshock, which admittedly sounds really awesome, but basically if you inflict at least 1 wound to a character, you give them this token. This basically means they have -2 initiative on the next card that they play, and you get the +2, which means you have +2 initiative for your next turn. So if you play an 8, you are guaranteed to go first. Well, that's great and all, but it's not actually doing any damage at all. Now, having said that though, you do get to roll 6 dice for this attack, but again, you don't move. So you have to be in the exact same place as the character or the other characters that you want to attack. So again, a very situational move. Yeah, Burdock unfortunately is one of those ones where if I sort of want a little bit of a challenge, I will play him. So there we go. Unfortunately, Burdock, you are my least favourite character to play. So moving on from that, we have actually got, well, the smallest character in the game. Agaric, the Cook Hand, what is it called? The Cook Hand Musketeer. And there we go, he's obviously based on the 3 Musketeers sort of thing. I think he's meant to be a pig. I'm not sure, he's got little pointed ears there and everything. Yeah, being the lightest character, it also means you have the least amount of health. 5. I mean, that is a pitiful amount of health to have. Sort of made up for his defense. His defense is between 4 and 6, which I don't believe any other character goes up to 6 defense. And he has that on a couple of cards as well. In fact, he has it on 3 of his cards. So yeah, you have to be very lucky with your dice rolls in order to hit him if he has a 6 defense. But Well, his special abilities don't really help him out much either. He obviously starts off with a defense of 4, so I suppose that's one thing. But his first ability is the explosive gunpowder barrel. Now, this sounds quite cool. It's a ranged attack, as you can see, and you use 3 dice to roll it. However, when you roll it, you basically attack 3 different characters in that area, and you assign them a die each. So if you roll badly, that means you're not going to hit 3 characters at all. And it also depends on how much their defense is. So, if they've got really good defense, then the chances are you're not really going to, hit them as much. I would much prefer using multiple dice to actually hit just one character rather than splitting them up like this. There is another character that does this, but they do it slightly better than this one. And his other special ability is the Ghostly Ring. Basically, while this card is active, no one can attack him with a ranged attack. He can only use hand-to-hand combat, which I suppose is okay, but I suppose if someone has chosen a ranged attack for that turn, then they're obviously not going to be able to use that. So, again, very situational. But if someone is still using a close combat attack, well, you can still get hit. It is a 6 defense, though, so, it has got that going for it. But you only roll 1 die for your close combat attack, which is, well, sort of pointless, really. 1 die, and if you roll low, well, you're probably not going to hit anyone your turn either, so it would have been better if Agaric had something that used his lightweight, like his speed or something, where he got maybe more movement or something, or, I don't know, something that allowed him to dodge more. I don't know. I just feel that his abilities just aren't great, especially considering he is the lightest character and has the least amount of health. So it would have just been nice to see that. So yeah, Agaric is definitely another challenging character to use, especially with the low health. I mean, admittedly, with the lightweight, if you do get a tie, then you are almost guaranteed to go first on initiative, so there is that going for him. So there we go, that is Agaric. Next up, we're going, well, obviously up in the weights, but we're going mid-weight with Cactus, the Gladiator Orc, spelt with a K for some reason. Again, a really cool design on this guy. He's got a spear and what I suppose it looks like a laser gun, doesn't it? But it obviously isn't. But yeah, if I was judging based on design, then this guy would definitely be way up there. He is most definitely middle of the road. He starts off with 8 health, and his defense goes between 4 and 5 on his cards. In fact, I tell a lie. There is a couple of 5 defenses, but most of his defense is 4, so very middle of the road there, and he has a weight of 8. So compared to Agaric, his defense is definitely more spread out, let's just say. So you have to hit a 4 or higher in order to hit this guy, so you have to be slightly lucky with your die rolls if you want to hit him. Now, his special abilities are alright. They're not the best in the game, in my opinion. But you've got this one here, which is the evil net. So what you do before you roll the die for the hand-to-hand attack, you roll 3. You roll 3 die, or roll 3 dice, and if the sum of these dice is equal to or greater than the size of your target, then the defense for that attack is reduced by 2, or the defense for the attack is reduced by 2. Now, you're obviously going to want to use this on lighter characters because you have a better chance of actually lowering their defenses. If you do this against the bigger guys, the ones that have got like 13, 10 or 16 weight, then you need to be really lucky with your dice roll when you roll those 3. If not, then you could definitely punish the lighter weighted characters with this attack, because as I say, it drops the defense by 2. So if you go against Agaric, then his 6 defense would go down to 4, which will make it a lot easier to hit. So yeah, if you use this against a lighter character, they could be in some trouble. And his other ability is the Vicious Spiked Epaulet Strike. Essentially, he can do 2 attacks on his turn. He rolls 3 dice for 1 with his trident, and then he performs a separate Epaulet strike against another opponent using 2 dice. And you can do this before and after movement. So you could attack one person in your area with the trident for 3, move to another space and attack another person with 2. That's pretty useful, actually. Only one, yeah, with the only one movement as well, you've got to obviously make sure that like people are going to be in the space that you attack them with. But yeah, this generally is a pretty decent attack. It's, I don't know, it's just one of those things, isn't it, where okay, I'm going to cut that bit. So yeah, Cactus is, you know, it's generally a good character to use. Personally, I just find him a little bit boring to use, essentially. I mean, his design is cool, but you know, his abilities are, they're all right. If you know, if you just want a middle of the road average character, then look no further than Cactus. That's what I say. So there you go. There is Cactusphere. Next up, going down in the weights to the, well, the second lightest character, and that is Jojoba, the Indian Goblin. This little dude right here looks a bit like a gremlin, doesn't he? Now, Jojoba, as said, is the second lightest character, and with that he does only have 6 health, but his defense ranges between 4 and 6, a bit like Agaric does. So he has slightly more health, but also has the 6 defense cards. Not as many as Agaric, bearing in mind, but he does have them. So he definitely has more, well, a slightly better chance of surviving than Agaric does. And obviously, with a weight of 6, he's going to normally beat ties with initiative unless Agaric goes at the same time. So his first ability is, if I can remember the name of it, is the Shaman Peace Pipe. This works very similar to Agaric's Ghostly Ring, where if he uses it, as long as the card is active, no one can do hand-to-hand attacks against him. So essentially, it's an opposite of Agaric's Ghostly Ring. Now, notice that you can't actually move on this turn, but you do have a ranged attack, so that does mitigate that slightly. With a defense of 5, that's not too bad. I'd say that's definitely better than Agaric's Ghostly Ring for sure, even though that did have a 6 attack on it. So I don't know, just with hand-to-hand, I feel that more characters use hand-to-hand more than ranged, so this definitely has a better use. And his other one definitely makes up for it, the Outstanding Archery Shot. Jojoba makes 2 shooting attacks from the same zone, but at 2 different targets. So essentially, this is the same as Cactus's Spiked Epaulet Strike, but you're doing 2 ranged attacks instead. And not only that, but you can move 2 spaces as well. So this is a very useful ability to have, rather than Cactus's Spiked Epaulet Strike, where you can only move 1, you get to move twice on your turn, and you have a 6 defense while this card is active as well. This definitely has a lot more variety and can use it a lot more than Cactus's Spiked Epaulet Strike for sure. So yeah, a very, very good ability to have, and definitely makes up for his, well, his Peace Pipe, which doesn't really do much. He only roll 1 die for the ranged. This is definitely this is definitely Jojoba's best ability to use. So yeah, it can be very devastating for 2 characters, because you can fight them. You can fight 2 different ones, and if you're really lucky with your die rolls, then yeah, you can do some serious damage with that attack. So that's Jojoba, a little gremlin, but I do definitely prefer playing him to Agaric. He just has a little bit more variety going for him. So we're halfway there. So what's going to be next? Well, it's one of the big boys, and we are going with Baobab. Baobab, the Barbarian Man Tree. I mean, whoever thought of this design needs a medal, because the Barbarian Man Tree, it just looks really cool, holding a rock and a giant axe. He's got skulls in the branches and everything. I think this guy's killed a lot of people from the looks of it. So yeah, a really cool design there. And, well, yeah, he's a pretty fun character to use. He has the second highest health in the game. He has 13 health, but obviously his defense is going to suffer because of this. He has between 2 and 4 defense, but mostly 3s. So, not quite the worst defense, but you do have to be a little bit careful when you pick your cards, depending on the defenses, because, you might get hit quite a lot if you play the 2 defense cards, but he does have a couple of 4 defenses, so that's always good. Now, his special abilities are quite unique. He's got this one here, which comes with this token here. It is the Mystical Skull. And basically, you give this token to another warrior within the range of your shooting attack, and that person cannot attack you during their next action. So once that opponent's turn is finished, then you remove the token, or as soon as Baobab attacks him, then you remove the token as well. So essentially, you are hypnotizing a character or another player to not attack you. That's pretty cool. Not only that, but you get to move one and you roll 3 dice with this attack as well. So, it's not a useless attack, essentially. It is just, you still can do some damage to it. So, that's pretty cool. So yeah, there's that one. And his other ability is the Dreaded Strike. It's literally just called the Dreaded Strike. Now, remember when I said about Agaric's explosive gunpowder barrel? Well, Baobab has that, but better. So, you roll the dice, 4 in total for a ranged attack, 4 dice, bearing in mind. The initial attacker that you target will get the full amount of hits, but then you can split up those 4 dice and hit 4 other targets in that area, and you can choose which die you put to each character. So if you get a really good roll, you can do some serious damage to 5 different characters in one attack. That's devastating. Obviously, with the 1 die roll, it all depends on luck. So if you do roll low, then it's not going to have as much of an effect. But if you're lucky with your die rolls, this is one of the most deadliest attacks in the game, I would say. But, as I say, it all comes down to luck. So, yeah, I really do like using this ability. And the fact that it's a ranged attack as well, you can hit quite a lot of people for quite a lot of damage. So, yeah, admittedly, the token is, well, it's all right to use, but it's very situational. It's like, you have to choose wisely who you're going to give this to, because they might not even want to attack you that turn anyway. So, that sort of lets Baobab down a little bit. But yeah, I do really enjoy using Baobab. He's a cool character, cool design, and he does have some unique abilities. So there we go. There is Baobab. Right, so we're into 3rd place, and it's the biggest character in the game. This dude right here, Zamioculcus, the Spartan Red Dragon. This thing is huge. I mean, just comparing to Agaric, look at the size difference in these guys. This guy is huge. But with that, obviously, comes some downsides to it. The positives are that he has the most health of any character in the game at 16. Baobab has 13, so this guy has 3 more health. That's a ridiculous amount of health to have. But because of this, his defense really does suffer. He does go up to 4 defense, but mostly the maximum defense that Zamioculcus is going to have is 3. So, yeah, you're going to get hit quite a lot. And seeing as you do have the most amount of health, people are going to come after you first, I would say, because they want to get rid of the big guy first. So you have to bear that in mind when you play as Zamioculcus, because you're going to get hit a lot. However, his abilities are some of the best in the game, for sure. So, has this one here, which is the Spectacular Offensive Defensive Turning Spear, which is just an absolutely ridiculous name for an ability, but there you go. So you can make 2 close combat attacks this turn, and you roll 2 dice each for both attacks. Now, they can be made separately before or after movement, but you have to do it against 2 different opponents. But like the other ones that do this, you can move, so you can do it before or after. So you can attack one person in one spot, move to another one, and attack another. That's pretty cool. 2 dice, it's not the best, but the thing that makes this different is that as long as this card is active, whoever attacks you, you roll 1 die and you set your defense value for each attack against you. So you could have a 6 defense against someone. Of course, you could also be really unlucky and have a 1 defense against someone. But seeing as Zamioculcas only has a maximum of 3 defense anyway, anything above that is going to be an added bonus. So not only can you do 2 separate attacks against 2 different characters, but you could essentially have really high defense as well. And that's not even including his second ability as well, which is the energy armor laser. Well, the energy armor. Laser targeting engaged is the quote that it says on here. So you roll 3 dice for the ranged attack. You don't move this turn, but you add 1 to the value of each of the 3 die you roll for your shooting attack, which is So if you roll a 6. If you roll 3 6s, you're essentially adding 1 to that, so you're rolling 7 for each die roll. This is the only character that can hit you for 7 damage, which can hit you for a 7, which is a guaranteed hit, because obviously the maximum defense is 6. That's ridiculous, and the fact that you roll 3 dice as well makes this a very, very powerful attack. With the range as well. So even if you hit someone that's 2 spaces away, you add 1 to the die roll anyway. So that sort of mitigates the -1 to the die roll that would have come into effect if you hit them 2 spaces away. And it's one of the few cards where he has a 4 defense as well. So this makes it a very good ability to have in front of you as well, especially near end game. It's very good to have a high defense for that. So yeah, really, really cool abilities, a cool design, and to be fair, despite the fact that he's got the most amount of health but the lowest defense, there's not really that many downsides to playing Zamioculcas. So yeah, I would definitely give that guy a go. So second place, and we're definitely dropping down in the weights. My second favourite character to play is Bonsai, the Samurai Dwarf. This guy's the 3rd lightest character in the game, and with that he gets 7 health, so slightly better than Agaric and Jojoba, and his defense ranges between 4 and 5 on pretty much all of his cards, most of them being 4s, but a lot of them are 5s as well. So yeah, he has pretty decent defense despite being the 3rd lightest character in the game. But it's his special abilities as well that definitely set him above Agaric and Jojoba for me. So he has this one here, which is the Vampiric Sticks. So essentially, Bonsai is also a vampire. If you do damage this turn, and you roll 2 dice for hand-to-hand combat with this, but if you manage to hit with both dice, you don't take the tokens as points, you take them as health. So he could effectively have 9 health at the start of the game if you use this ability straight away. That's brilliant. If obviously someone then attacks you, they get them as points afterwards. But if you're in a pinch, this is a really good ability to have as well, especially if you use it against someone with a lot more health, like, I don't know, Baobab or Zamioculcas. So if you know that you're just about to die, then maybe use this ability and you can gain 2 health back theoretically. Obviously, if you don't roll enough for the defense, then yeah, you don't get that. But this is the only character that can actually regain health, because normally once you lose health, that's it. A very unique ability to have, and definitely one of the more powerful ones. And his other one is just as good. It sort of works as an opposite to the vampire sticks. It's the dreadful kamikaze attack. Basically, the more damage or the more hurt Bonsai is, the more powerful this attack becomes. So, if you only have 1 health left, you get to roll 6 dice for this attack. And you get to move twice as well. So, yeah, you want to wait until you're nearly dead in order to use this attack, especially near there. You get to roll all 6 dice, so that gives you a much better chance of doing a lot of damage to one particular character. That's fantastic. And then straight afterwards, you could then use the vampiric sticks to regain some health. I mean, that's a brilliant combo to use. Do a lot of damage when you're low health, and then just regain your health afterwards. What's not to like about that? And the fact that he's like a vampire samurai dwarf as well. I mean, that's just, yeah, really, really awesome design. I love playing Bonsai. He's just a lot... Yeah, he just feels a lot more fun to play, definitely. That's why he's my second favourite character to play in the game. Now, that only leaves one character left, and, well, if you've played Ultimate Warriors before, you know who it is. My favourite character to play is Sorgo, the Matador Minotaur. I mean, that's an oxymoron in itself, isn't it? A Matador Minotaur, so... he chases himself, I guess. Yeah, whoever came up with these character designs is fantastic. So, the third biggest character in the game, he has 10 health, and his defense ranges between 3 and 4. No, he has 1-5 defense, but so between 3 and 5, but mostly 3s and 4s, with a weight of 10. Now, that doesn't sound that great. I mean, yeah, the third highest amount of health, so that's definitely got that going for him. And most of his cards are a 3 defense with 1-5 in there. But it's his special abilities that I really, really love using. You've got this one here, the Ultra Bright Outfit. Basically, while this is in effect, opponents roll 1 fewer die for their attacks as long as the card is active. So... if they're really unlucky and they roll, I don't know, a 1, well, that attack is just mitigated. You're not going to do anything. It has defense of 4 as well, so it's not the worst defense card in the game. So, yeah, they roll 1 fewer die for their attacks. So if they only have a ranged attack of 1, well, they're not going to be able to hit you because they're only going to be able to roll 1 die normally, and they won't be able to hit any. So, yeah, that essentially mitigates that person's attack on you on that turn. That's fantastic. And with a 4 defense as well, it's a really good card to have. Now, his other one is this one here. The awesome Terminator style killing. Now, this works in the sort of in the same way as the dreadful kamikaze attack that Bonsai has. But it's not to do with health, it's how many cards have been played beforehand. So the more actions Sorgo has taken, the more effective this will be. You roll a number of dice equal to the number of action cards you've already played, including this one. So this is a very, very good end game card to play. Because if you've played 6 cards already, you get to roll 6 dice. That's great. The only downside to it is you don't move on this turn. So yeah, that's a very, very situational card to use, but it could be one of the most devastating to use as well. Rolling the 6 dice, and it doesn't matter about health as well, puts that slightly higher up than Bonsai's kamikaze attack, because you're not usually at risk of dying when you use this card. So yeah, some really neat abilities with this guy, and generally he seems to be one of the most well-balanced and well-rounded characters in the game with, you know, not the most amount of health, not the worst amount of defense, but just the right amounts to get you through the game. So there we go, there's all the characters ranked for Ultimate Warriors. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you've never played Ultimate Warriors before, check out my playthrough of it in my previous video. And you never know, you might have found the latest game that you might love. So until next time, Sorgo here is going to say goodbye, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.